Hello and welcome to part 2 of my video on how to build a basic drum sampler. If you remember last time we had set up our storyboard as shown here and we added our instance variables and functions. If you remember, I was stumbling at the end of the last video because I was sure I'd forgotten a function, which I had, and that was a simple, so we're going to enter that now, which is a simple function called void set label. Okay, that will become apparent when we're going to do that later. Okay, so that is all the all our functions have been declared. So now we're going to write out their content. So what I've done there, is I've just dragged and copied and pasted them all. Okay, so we're going to go into the drum sampler method folder, and we're going to go under this, and we're going to just copy and paste them all. Okay, it's going to flag up quite a few errors at the minute. All we need to do is simply go to each function and add a set of curly braces. You'll notice I make quite a few different random noises when I'm doing things, and a strange laugh, so put up with it basically. Okay, so let's go into we need to uncomment this as well, our view did load. Okay, and you just need to get rid of this error. I have an error because it's trying to build it to my my iPod, and I'm obviously not building it to my iPod, we're building it to the simulator, so there we go, just change that, no errors. Right. So the first thing we want to do is when our view loads, which is basically this function is called when our view, which is in our storyboard is this, when this is loaded, it is called. So you can, this is what we're going to do when it loads up. So the first thing we want to do when our view loads is we're going to put all our buttons on the screen. Now if you remember, we haven't dragged any buttons to that screen. And you'll be thinking, why hasn't he done that? The reason I haven't is because I'm going to show you how to render the buttons in actual code, so hard-coded buttons. This is a lot easier if you're using, if you're using 10 to 12 buttons. There is no point dragging each one to the screen when you can just render them in code. And also, it's just easier sometimes to just do stuff in code rather than storyboarding it. It's just a different way of doing it. So I'm going to teach you how to do that basically. So what we want to do is when this loads, we want to call a function. So type self, which is telling it to call a function within its class. And we want to call the function initialize buttons. Init buttons, okay? So it's going to call this. Now you're thinking, okay, let's go in and initialize all our buttons. So the first thing I want to do is that we have, if you remember correctly, we have 4 buttons to initialize. So instead of writing the same code for 4 buttons, we're going to put it into a for loop. So type for and put int I equals 0. I is less than 4, and then I plus plus. So the loop is running from 0 to 3, and it's incremented by 1 each time. Okay. We also want to add 2 arrays up here. These are the coordinates of our buttons. So we want to type int x array. Type this as 4 semicolon int y array. 4 again and semicolon. Now all I need to do is go to my reference file, which is here, which I found now. I need to grab this, which is my coordinates. Because I can't remember these off by heart, so I'm just going to record them and then delete what I've done. So just for the information, I've opened up a set of curly braces, typed 70, 250, 70, 250, and then in the Y array I've typed 50, 50, 170, 170, okay? And that is the coordinates of where I want the buttons to be rendered to on the screen. Okay, so let's go and add our first line of code. So basically, we now need to tell the compiler what buttons we want to render, because there is several different types of buttons. So let's type sample buttons of I. Sorry, I should have put this equal to something. Equal to UI button. Hang on a minute. Sorry, forgetful as always. Sorry, it's a U. I need to open up to braces, that's why. UI button. Button with type, UI button type, and then we want to type in UI button type custom. Okay, a custom button. This will defaultly be a round rect, but we don't want a round rect, we want a custom button. We want to be different, be customized. Once again, type sample buttons I. Now, the next thing we need to add to our sample buttons is the coordinates. Not the coordinates. We want to basically add color to our button. It's a very simple color. So we want to put set background color. Type square braces UI color, which is a default color. Type in let's make them red color. We're gonna have red buttons. No, not. That's really boring. We're gonna have black. We're gonna be different. Black, dark color. Okay, so we've set our color. The next thing we need to do is we need once again to set the the CG rect. So let's tell it where it's going to put them. CG rect. Sorry, set. What am I doing? Set frame. CG rect. Square braces again, and then type in CG rect make. Okay. So now we basically need to define all the coordinates and the position. So the first thing it wants is the position. Now, if you remember, we declared the coordinates. So we type X array of I, and once again, Y array of I. Okay, so that will fill it out for us. We want to make our buttons, for the purpose of this video, 150 wide and 100 tall. Okay, that's declared our buttons. Okay, the last thing we need to do is, it's got an error. I shall find the error. Sorry, should have put 2. See? What? What are you doing? See, it's really not in my good. It's does not like me today. Let's have a look, shall we? You'll probably get errors all the time. Expect identifier. No. Interesting. Why are you not working? Okay, this is how to cheat. You go in there and you grab what you've already done. But don't tell them I told you that. There we go. It's fixed it. Problem solved. So okay, you'd probably say, okay, well, we've drawn our buttons, but they won't actually work at the minute because we need to attach them to our view. So you type self.view. Okay, so it's telling you it's targeting the view. Add subview sample buttons of I, and that will attach them to the view. Now, if we run our program, this should actually now add them to the view, and we should see our nice 4 drawn buttons that will look very boring and not very colourful at the minute. Okay, it's taking a while to load because I haven't built it yet. Hopefully it's work. Trickle, 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 trickle. Come on, you load. Start. Right, okay, so it's drawn our 4 buttons. Now there's a problem, I just remembered something. You'll notice it's put it in portrait, despite the fact we've told it in the storyboard to be in landscape. And the reason that is because it's down at the bottom of the screen. It here asks if it should auto-rotate to basically what you've declared, because you can obviously, an app can be in 3 positions. At the minute, this is defaultly in, if you look, in portrait. We don't want it in portrait, we want it in landscape. Landscape left, for argument's sake, and run it again. Come on. You can see my computer's being a bit crazy, going mad. It's like, give me power. There we go. As you can see, they're all sideways now. Happy days. Okay, go back to that, sorry. As you'll notice, it won't do anything. Okay, we haven't declared, these buttons are buttons, but they don't have any functions related to them. They don't do anything. They're very boring. So let's add their function. So what we need to do now is target sample buttons again, of I. What we need to do now is add target. Okay, a target is basically what it does when it's pressed down. So that's how to put it. So let's type in self, and its action. We type in @selector. Okay, we want it to when it is pushed. We want this function here wants to be called receive sample number. Receive sample number. That's what we need to put. And this is for UI. I can't remember how to do this now. Event control. Excuse my poor French. Event, scroll up, scroll down, event touchdown, okay? So when the button is touched down, it will call this function receive sample number. Okay, now I do believe that's all we need to do for the moment for our buttons. We'll come back at a later date, so let's add a comment. Now to add a comment, you do 2 dashes like that, and we're going to call this make buttons look snazzy. So we'll come back later on and, do a bit of fiddling, make them look a bit brighter and a bit nicer. So let's go straight into our receive sample number. So what happens is when the button's pushed down, it calls a function called receive sample number, which basically is it's being sent the object. So as you can see, it's being sent the object with the name sender. A bit of a boring name to call it. So the best way what we need to do now is decide what to do with what it's sending us. At the minute, it's just sending us blank buttons. So what we need to do is we need to let's go up here and go sample buttons and add a tag. So we go set tag, and we want to set it to be I, which is within the for loop, add 1. Okay. Now what this will do is now if I go down here and declare a variable called tag, and we set tag equal to the sender the sender's tag. Okay, so now what this is doing is it's getting this number from the button, so we can determine which button has been pressed, which is obviously very helpful because we don't want, you know, each button to just play the same sample because that would be really boring. So now we've got that, we want to call this function play sample. Sorry, type in self play sample, and we want to play the sample tag. Sounds a bit stupid, but we want to play the sample we've just been sent. Play the sample number of the sample we've just been sent. Ugh, can't get that into the proper words. Okay, now to play sample. Now, this code I can never remember, so what I do is I will copy and paste it, and I will show you what I'm doing. So let's find our play sample. Okay, as you can see, it's a very, very big chunk of code. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this first basic bit, and I will explain from there what's going on. So let's put in play sample. So what this is doing is declaring a few variables related to the name of the basically the name of the sample and its location. There's no point explaining that because it's quite complicated. So that's basically what we do is open up an if statement here, and it says if the sample number equals 1, we want it to play the kick drum sample. So boom, boom. That's all you need to do for that. So if you just copy this code out, and what I'm going to do now is I'll type it out on the next one, and then you can just, you know, follow me along, and then go back and copy and paste it. So if sample number equals 2. I've used an else if statement because if it is sample number 1, it's not going to be sample number 2. You can only play one sample at a time. So we want to type in sound file URL reference, which you've declared up here, is equal to the CF bundle, copy bundle URL, type in main bundle, comma, open brackets, CF string reference, and we want, this is the next sample name. We want to call this, let's call this snare drum. Obviously you need to change these depending on the name of your samples. Before we go any further, let's drag in my samples, which are in my documents. I have a very messy computer, as you can tell. Untitled folder. Da-da. Sorry, what am I doing? I've already dragged them in. Thinking too fast. Okay, it's snare drum. What am I doing? Type in CFSTR, quotation marks. Now this one, in case you have noticed, is a big capital WAV, and it's case sensitive, so just make sure that you can type in the right extension. And audio, sorry, what am I doing now? Oh yeah, that's why that's flagged up. I know why it's flagged up. I know exactly why it's flagged up. If you remember at the start, we added these frameworks, audio and quartz. However, we haven't actually included them in our folder, so we type in import. Sorry, wrong one. We need to type in that one, and then type in quartz core. Happy days. And while we're there, we might as well import our audio toolkit as well, so we can play samples. Audio toolbox. I did that in the wrong order. We should have imported that one first, because we're not actually using quartz at the moment, so just ignore what I'm saying. I'm so confused. Okay, what are you doing? Error. Too many arguments. Expect to have one. Okay. I have no idea why it's gone wrong. I never know why it's gone wrong. Do you know what? I'm just gonna cheat and copy and paste this again. I will, if you want, just pause the video at this point and then just copy it word for word. You can see it's compiled correctly. No faults, so it's right. This is going to be a 3-part video because I'm coming up to another 13 minutes now. I'm pretty sure YouTube won't allow me to upload such large videos. So we'll pick it back up from here in the next video. See you in a bit.